From outer space, Lake Superior seems lifeless and still, but take a closer look and it is in constant motion, sloshing back and forth, serving as an indicator of daily weather and long-term trends in the Great Lakes region. Researchers are attaining a better idea of this vast inland sea with the use of technology. Dr. Jay Austin, lake physicist and associate professor at the University of Minnesota Duluth, is one of those researchers.
One of the ways that we're learning about the lake is by placing instrumentation out in the lake. We have a number of different ways of doing that. We have two meteorological buoys, which are buoys that you'll see. You go out into the lake 20 miles. They're floating buoys that collect information on weather like wind speed and direction, air temperature, how much solar radiation, other things like that. Plus they have instruments through the water column from near the surface all the way to near the bottom. Another thing we do is we place buoys, we place moorings much further out in the lake, which only measure subsurface water temperature.
The Lake Superior research cycle begins each spring. Then Dr. Austin and the crew of the RV Blue Heron put on their parkas and shove off from the Duluth Harbor to deploy the University of Minnesota Duluth buoy for the season. Retrieving data from Lake Superior requires boats, buoys, people, and sometimes even anchors made from 4,000 pounds of railroad wheels.
Going out on a boat to work on these moorings it's a lot of fun the first couple times you do it. Actually, you know what? It's still a lot of fun to do. We have buoys or moorings all around Lake Superior. So it takes several days to visit all these sites. When we get to a site, we have a way of releasing the mooring so that it floats to the surface. We gather everything on board. We get the data out of the instruments. We prepare new instruments or replace batteries in old instruments, and then go through the process in reverse, putting the whole thing into the water.
The buoys gather data around the clock and, thanks to advanced technologies, some of this data is retrieved daily. The subsurface data are confirming a warming trend in the upper 40 meters of Lake Superior. Austin and his collaborator, Dr. Steve Coleman, director of the University of Minnesota Duluth's Large Lakes Observatory, reported this trend in 2007. The new influx of buoy data has advanced their analysis of lake characteristics like spring turnover, stratification, and temperature.
Right now, the data goes to several different locations. Eventually, it will be uploaded to national archives. The National Science Foundation is providing the funding for the research that we're doing right now. And so once I've had a chance to publish on that data, we voluntarily give the data to something called the National Ocean Data Center, NODC, where they archive and keep the data safe.
As winter approaches, the RV Blue Heron makes one last cruise before going into layup in the Duluth Harbor. The last mission is retrieving the buoy that has recorded the most recent trends in the greatest of the Great Lakes, an incredibly important work that not only assists those who work with the lake now, but those who will in the near and far future.
Lakes represent, in some sense, a climate antenna. It's really interesting to ask how lakes respond to regional climate. A lake is a spot on the landscape and is really a great gauge of what's going on regionally. So I guess the overarching theme here is trying to develop better observational resources for scientists with which to study lakes.
A look at Jay Austin's full interview and more are available on www.seagrant.umn.edu. Some of Dr. Austin's data can be accessed directly through www.lakesuperiorstreams.org.